Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita sessions, which are starting today. As I can see, some of you are joining for the first time. So let me introduce the speaker very briefly. Here we have His Grace Ambarish Maharaj Das, is one of the leading members of ISKCON community in Wellington. He originally hails from Pune in Maharashtra, India. Prabhuji had interest in Bhagavad Gita since his early life, and he had read many versions of the book by different authors. But he was truly inspired to practice Bhakti Yoga after reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is in the year 2006. He moved to Wellington in 2008 and was introduced to his spiritual guru, His Holiness Ved Vyas Priya Swami Maharaj, receiving formal initiation in the year 2011. Ambarish Maharaj Prabhuji conducts the weekly journey of self-discovery courses at Lower Hutt and at Woodridge in Wellington, New Zealand. He also conducts numerous seminars, lectures, workshops, and retreats on spiritual topics. He's expert in presenting the spiritual knowledge by making it relevant to our day-to-day life. He and his wife, Her Grace Anang Manjri Devi Dasi, started ISKCON Center for Cultural and Education in 2018, which caters to the spiritual needs of the community in Wellington region, and we all are getting benefited of that. Prabhuji also serves as a member of the National Council of ISKCON at New Zealand level. Ambarish Maharaj Prabhuji possesses a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and currently works full-time in a managerial position at the Ministry of Social Development here in Wellington, New Zealand. Prabhuji also personally mentors and guides anyone who is interested in practicing Bhakti Yoga and is happy to share his experiences in the practical application of spirituality. So for any help in this space, you can very well reach out to Prabhuji and discuss in detail. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Vikas Prabhuji, for using all the nicest words that you can find in the dictionary and using that in my introduction. So today we are going to start these sessions on wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. So I'll share, I've prepared some slides just for this first session. This is an introduction and overview session. So I'm going to use slides, and in future as well, if time permits, I will use some slides, but let me share the slides with you. Are you all able to see the screen?
Ji Prabhu.
Yes,
Yes, Prabhu. We can see. Yes, we can see.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, as I said, we are going to start this wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. So let us start with this prayer for invoking auspiciousness first. Om Adnyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much for all of you for joining these sessions that we are starting today. And you all are actually rare souls that who have interest in knowing about the wisdom, what is there inside the Bhagavad Gita. So there is a lot of knowledge that is hidden in Bhagavad Gita, and from today onwards, we are going to start to explore that knowledge. We are not calling these sessions as knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. You would have noticed we are calling it as wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. So what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? So it is said by a wise person that knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is not putting that fruit inside a fruit salad. So knowledge is one thing. You can know that tomato is a fruit, but just because you're making fruit salad, if you add tomato inside the fruit salad, then you will spoil it. So it is an experiential knowledge that once, suppose someone puts the tomato in the fruit salad and then he understands that, oh, this is not the right fruit. And then you understand, okay, there are certain kinds of fruits, if you add into fruit salad, they taste nice. But if you add tomato into it, it will be spoiled. So this is an experiential knowledge. It is a practical aspect which is not limited just to have in putting some information into our brain, but it is an experienced knowledge. It is applied knowledge that we are going to learn from today. So there was once a disciple of Srila Prabhupada who met one person, and after meeting him, he was very excited, and he brought him to meet Srila Prabhupada. And he said to Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So he mentioned to Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, do you know this person? This person can recite the entire Bhagavad Gita shlokas in 45 minutes. Now there are 700 verses. It takes almost like 1.5 hours to 2 hours to recite all the Sanskrit shlokas. But this person can actually, he has all 700 verses by heart, and he can recite them in 45 minutes. And he was very, very impressed. This disciple was very impressed. That's why he introduced this person to Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada wasn't impressed at all. He was not amazed. He looked at this person and he said that it's good that you are able to recite this Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes. But what is more important is, can you live Bhagavad Gita for 45 minutes at least? So that is the most important part. So Bhagavad Gita is an instruction manual for our life. So we should all have Bhagavad Gita at our home. There is no doubt. It is an instruction manual. It is very important to have Bhagavad Gita at our home. But more important than having Bhagavad Gita at our home is that if you are able to worship Bhagavad Gita, that is even better. And more important than having Bhagavad Gita and worshipping is to actually open the Bhagavad Gita and read it. Our Bhagavad Gita is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. It says Bhagavad Gita as it is. There was one person, there was a devotee who he gave this Bhagavad Gita to one of the Matajis. And after a few months, he met this person again. And this devotee asked this Mataji, hey, I gave you this Bhagavad Gita. Have you started reading it? She said, no, I have kept it as it is. So Bhagavad Gita as it is, when it says, it doesn't mean that we have to keep the Bhagavad Gita as it is somewhere without opening it. So what we talked about was, better to have Bhagavad Gita at our home. But better than that is actually worshipping it. You can keep it in the altar and worship the Bhagavad Gita. But better than that is to actually open the Bhagavad Gita and read it. And even better than reading the Bhagavad Gita is to understand the Bhagavad Gita, because many people are reading the Bhagavad Gita, but they don't understand it at all. So it is better to actually understand the Bhagavad Gita. And even better than understanding the Bhagavad Gita is to actually implement the practical aspect into our day-to-day life. And even better than that is to actually explain the Bhagavad Gita after you implement in your life, to explain the Bhagavad Gita to others as well. So this wisdom is how we can implement this Bhagavad Gita in our own life. So our focus is going to be on that. Bhagavad Gita, as you know, or many of you will be knowing, that it has 18 chapters or 18 adhyayas. And in 18 adhyayas or 18 chapters, we have 700 shlokas or verses. And each verse is very important. Each verse has so much knowledge is kept inside that many people actually take one verse from Bhagavad Gita and they do PhD on that one verse. So of course, it is possible for us to speak on each verse for 1 hour. If we take one verse from Bhagavad Gita every day, and read it and try to hear about that verse for 1 hour, then it will take almost like 2 years. So there are 365 days, there are 700 verses. So almost like 2 years it will take if we have these 1 hour sessions every day. But we are going to just have it every week. And if you actually decide to speak on each verse of Bhagavad Gita, like one verse of Bhagavad Gita every week, because there are 700 verses, it will take 700 weeks. That means it will take more than 13 years to just complete understanding the Bhagavad Gita properly. I'm sure not all of you would be interested in hearing for 13 years. So what we are going to do is each week we are going to take around 10 or 15 verses, and we will read the verse, the translation, and some part of the purport, and focus mainly on the practical aspect of that. And after every chapter is finished, we will try to also do a quiz, and I can post the quizzes on our WhatsApp group that we have. If you haven't joined it yet, then please join so that you can also get other communication and as well as the quizzes. So just some guidelines during this session. I would request that everyone, if as far as possible, you can keep your cameras on. We are already learning distantly. At least I will know who's speaking. So if you're asking question or answering something, this is going to be an interactive session. Maybe this first session is quite like I'm actually going to speak a lot in the first session, but from the next session onwards, it will be quite interactive. If you want to ask any question in between, you can use the feature in Zoom to raise your hand, and then I will, whenever I notice that, I will stop as close to your raising your hand, and we can answer that question as well. Are you all ready? Okay. So, Bhagavad Gita overview. Actually, I'm going to cover a few aspects of why we should read and study Bhagavad Gita, why only reading this Bhagavad Gita as it is important today, and then few things about Bhagavad Gita. And then from next session onwards, actually, we will be starting to read actual verses from Bhagavad Gita. So this is the context setting before we start the journey. So why should we read and study Bhagavad Gita? So first thing to understand that this is not an ordinary book. In Bhagavad Gita, it's a conversation that we have between Lord Krishna and his dear friend Arjuna. And this speaker of Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary person. And when we are actually covering the verses from Bhagavad Gita, it will be very, very clear to you that Krishna is not an ordinary person. He's not even an extraordinary person. He is actually the supreme personality of Godhead. He is God himself. And he is the source of everything. He's the cause of all causes. He's the source of everything. And when I'm saying source of everything, he's also the source of all the knowledge. So if you want to actually receive the spiritual knowledge, who can be a better person than get that knowledge from the source of knowledge himself? So why we should read and study Bhagavad Gita? Because the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Lord Shri Krishna himself, and who is the source of knowledge. Not only that, the listener of that Bhagavad Gita is also extraordinary. Now imagine there is someone who is very learned in a particular topic. Let's say someone has got PhD in physics. And this PhD in physics person has a lot of knowledge. But he is speaking to a person who is in the second standard of school. So even though the speaker has a lot of knowledge, he won't be able to explain the in-depth knowledge that he has about physics to this person who is in second standard, because the grasp, like the level of the listener, is not that high. The person will not be able to grasp it. So he has to actually explain it very simply, or very basic knowledge he has to give. But if someone is very, very advanced in that knowledge, then he will be able to give all the knowledge that he has. So Arjuna is like that. Arjuna is not an ordinary person. Arjuna could actually meet Lord Indra. He could also fight with Lord Shiva, and not only fight and lose miserably, but he was able to actually impress Lord Shiva with his fighting skills. He was able to fight for Lord Indra and was able to win the war for Lord Indra. So he is an extraordinary person. Not only he is a very good fighter, but he is very, very knowledgeable in the spiritual topics. He actually has all this knowledge which is given in Bhagavad Gita. But momentarily, because Krishna wanted to give this knowledge to all of us, he put Arjuna into some bewilderment so that he can ask these questions, and then we can hear this knowledge and learn from it. So not only the speaker and the listener is extraordinary, but it's an extraordinary conversation. This topic as well is extraordinary. So when say suppose two people in New Zealand meet, what topic do they talk about? Their common topics is how's the weather. They will just talk about weather for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even an hour. Can you imagine if you're coming from India, your conversation about weather finishes in half a sentence and then you move on to another topic. But here people are so interested in weather. Then the second topic they can talk about is rugby. And they will go on and on and on and on about that topic as well. So it is not some mundane topic like how's the weather, how's about cricket or rugby. It is talking about very important topic, which is the spiritual topic. And this conversation, when in Gita Mahatmya it is written, explaining the importance of Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopal Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Mritam Mahat. So it is mentioned, Sarvopanishado Gavo. So actually Vedas have vast body of knowledge, but hardly anyone has time to read Vedas. So this knowledge was summarized into 108 Upanishads. Upanishads are smaller guide-like books. But they are also 108, so it is so difficult to read them and understand. So that is why this Bhagavad Gita has been given. So in this verse, in Gita Mahatmya, these Upanishads are compared to a cow, Sarvopanishado Gao, and Dogdha Gopala Nandana. So Krishna is called a cowherd boy. We all know Krishna is a cowherd boy and he likes to do the pastime with the cows. And what Partho Vassa Sudhir Bhokta. And Arjuna is compared with a calf who wants to drink that milk. So all the Upanishads are like cows. Arjuna is the calf who wants to drink that milk. And who's milking the cow? It is Krishna himself who's milking the cow. And what is that milk which is coming out? Dugdham Gita Mritam Mahat. So this knowledge which is coming out is the summary of all the Vedas, all the Upanishads. And that is why Bhagavad Gita is also called Gitopanishad. So this knowledge in Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary conversation. It is the summary. It is the essence of all the Vedas, all the Upanishads, all the other knowledge that is there. It is condensed into these 700 verses. So it is an extraordinary conversation. Not only that, it is happening at an extraordinary place and time. How is that extraordinary place and time? You all know that Gita is spoken and this conversation comes in Mahabharata. It's an epic. And in Mahabharata, you know, this story is quite long. We are going to just briefly touch upon it, that Pandu and Dhritarashtra are two brothers. Pandu has 5 sons, which are called Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra has 100 sons, which are called Kauravas. Actually, all 105 are Kauravas because they are coming from the ancestor of Kuru. So all who's coming from Kuru are Kauravas. But in general, these 100 are called Kauravas. We all know from who has read Mahabharata that Pandavas are virtuous. They are on the Dharma side, whereas Duryodhana and Dushasan, who are the leading Kauravas, like the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, they are following adharma. They are actually not following any dharmic principles. So Dhritarashtra is blind, and that is, though he is elder, he was not given the kingdom, and Pandu was made the king. But after some time, Pandu dies, and Dhritarashtra is made a caretaker king. And after that, when Yudhishthira is born, like not after that, like Yudhishthira is the elder one, and amongst all the 105. So when the time came to inherit the kingdom, Dhritarashtra was not very keen to give it to Pandu's son. He wanted his own son Duryodhana to become the king. So Duryodhana was also very, very interested in become the king, and he tried everything that is possible to kill the Pandavas. He set fire to their house. He gave poison to them. He tried to harm them with weapon, and so many things he tried to do. But finally, when everything else failed, he called them for a gambling match, and he cheated them. He tried to also disrobe their wife, Draupadi. And finally, he sent them all to an exile for 13 years. So after they come back from 13 years of exile, they ask for their kingdom back. But Duryodhana refuses. So finally, Krishna is sent as the messenger to have a peace conversation between Pandavas and Kauravas. So when Krishna goes to talk to Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana and all the other his sons, Dhritarashtra's sons, they refused to give any kingdom to Pandavas. So just as a last opportunity, Krishna said that, okay, if you don't want to give half the kingdom, or actually full kingdom or half the kingdom, at least give 5 villages, because Pandavas are Kshatriyas, they are supposed to administer, and that is why they are supposed to have something to rule over and be the kings. So don't give 5 big kingdoms or 5 big cities, just give 5 villages, and these 5 brothers will be satisfied with that. And this was a very good offer. Duryodhana should have immediately accepted it, but he was very arrogant, and he said that, forget about 5 villages. I will not even give a land in which you can drive a small pin. So there was no choice left then. So Pandavas had to then come to a war. So this is the situation now we are in. As you can see on the screen, both the armies are now assembled on Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is the battlefield where this war took place. And there is 17 Aukshahini army. So 11 Aukshahini army on Duryodhana's side, and 7 Aukshahini on Pandava's side, which is around total 4 million people or so who are there on that battlefield. They are already set. Their weapons are all ready. They have blown their conch shell. And after blowing the conch shell, at that time, in the middle of the 2 armies, Krishna has spoken this Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Now, you may not imagine how this can happen. This conversation went on for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Imagine, just to a current context, if you want to give a similar example, which is not exactly similar, but you can understand what I'm talking about. Say it is a cricket match final going on, World Cup final. And the 2 rival countries are there, say India and Australia. They are going to have this World Cup final. India is batting first, and they are like the two batsmen are on the field, and then on the pitch, and then the stadium is full completely, probably around 1 lakh people who are waiting there to watch this match, and there are so many on the TV who are watching this match. The bowler is ready. He has taken the stance to start his first over, and suddenly these two batsmen come in between. They are on the pitch, and they start talking each other. And while that is happening, suddenly this one batsman, who's the key batsman, like Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli or whoever, and suddenly this key batsman drops the bat, starts crying, and he says that I'm not going to play this match. And then this other batsman, he is talking to this main batsman, and for 1.5 hours, trying to persuade him to play this cricket match. Now you can imagine, right? So even on the cricket field, when everything is about to start, it is so hard for people to stop and just let them continue this conversation. Imagine a war is going to happen and everyone is ready, and suddenly this Krishna and Arjuna are right at the middle of the battlefield, and they are having this conversation. So it is an extraordinary place and time. So if Krishna and Arjuna can have this conversation when there is this battle going on, or it is just about to start, so no one can complain and say that I do not have time for Bhagavad Gita. So it was purposely chosen by Krishna and Arjuna. Of course, Krishna had chosen this time for this Bhagavad Gita to be spoken, so that no one in future can say that I actually do not have time to read or listen to Bhagavad Gita. Because if they can find time amongst the battle that was about to start, then what about all these other day-to-day activities that we do? We can always find time for Bhagavad Gita. So it's an extraordinary time, place, and circumstances that is there. Not only that, why it is important to read and study Bhagavad Gita is because Bhagavad Gita is an instruction manual for human life. When we are reading Bhagavad Gita and we are studying it further, when we come to further chapters, we will understand that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we are spirit soul, and we are staying in this body, and this body he is comparing to a machine. He says, Ishwaraha sarva bhutana vriddhesha arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. So he compares this body to a yantra or a machine, and we are staying inside this machine. And every machine, as you know, comes with an instruction manual. And this is the instruction manual that Krishna has given to all of us. So if you want to utilize this machine properly, then we need to actually read this Bhagavad Gita. We need to understand what is there, how to live our life. And this Bhagavad Gita gives very practical instructions. It explains to us how to become happy, how to become peaceful, how to control our anger, what happens when anger comes, how do we control our speech, how do we actually, even practical instruction like how to give charity, what food to eat and what not to eat, how to control our mind, who is our greatest enemy, how to control that enemy. So many things which are mentioned, so many more things which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. And slowly when we are going through the Bhagavad Gita, we will cover all these topics and more. Not only that, Bhagavad Gita covers 5 important topics. They are Ishvara, Prakriti, Jiva, Kala, and Karma. So all these 5 topics and their interaction has been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. And the most important is that what is the simplest and easiest process by which we can get the highest spiritual result is mentioned. By the way, that is Bhakti Yoga process. That is the recommendation of Bhagavad Gita. Even though many scholars mention about Karma Yoga is important, and that is what Bhagavad Gita is promoting or whatever, we will see step by step how Krishna emphasizes Bhakti Yoga every now and then, and also at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. So what are the benefits there are extraordinary benefits that we get when we read and study Bhagavad Gita. Let's look at what are the benefits that we are getting. So I would request someone to read the translation of 18th chapter, 70th verse, 18.70. So if you have the Bhagavad Gita as it is with you in front of you, you can open 18th chapter, 70th verse, 18.70, and read the translation for me. Who wants to read?
Yeah, I can do that, Prabhu.
Yes, please go ahead. Ram Mohan Prabhu.
And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence.
So just by studying the Bhagavad Gita, we are actually worshipping the Supreme Lord. How we are worshipping? We are worshipping using the intelligence. So when we are actually attending the sessions and trying to study the Bhagavad Gita, automatically we are doing the worship of the Supreme Lord by using our intelligence. Now let's look some more benefits. Someone else can read the translation for verse number 71, 18.71. Who wants to do that?
Can I do, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Anyone who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell.
Yeah, interesting. So if you study the Bhagavad Gita, and then Krishna says that actually you are worshipping me with your intelligence. And here it is mentioned that if you are only casually listening, it is not like a study that you are trying to do. It is just the listening that you are trying to do. But as long as you are doing it with faith and without envy, if you are just listening Bhagavad Gita with faith and without envy, then what is the benefit? All our sinful reactions are gone. We become free from sinful reactions. And not only that, we attain the auspicious planets. Now let's read some further benefits. Someone can read the translation of 68 and 69 together, one after another.
Ji,
Wants to read? Yeah, Jitam Prabhu, go ahead. 68 and 69.
Hare Krishna. For one who explains his supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Hare Krishna.
So there are so many benefits. So we saw the benefit of reading, that we become free from all sinful reactions. We saw the benefit, and you go to the auspicious higher planetary system. If you study, then you are worshipping the Supreme Lord by your intelligence. And if you actually explain this Bhagavad Gita knowledge to others, then you, what do you get? You get pure devotional service, pure devotional service. And not only that, at the end of the life, we go back to Godhead. We go to the spiritual world to reside with the Supreme Lord Krishna. And Krishna is saying that this person who's explaining Bhagavad Gita's knowledge to others, there is no one else who's more dear to Krishna than this person. So you have that opportunity now. You read, you study, and once you understand, when you start implementing the knowledge in your day-to-day life, then you can also explain this knowledge to someone else, and then you become the most dear devotee of Lord Krishna. Isn't that amazing? But not only this, these are not the only benefits. There is one more benefit which is explained in Bhagavad Gita very dramatically. Now let's read the translation of 18.72. Sorry, not 18.72, 18.73. Someone else can read who hasn't read it, 18.73 translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I'm prepared to act according to your instructions."
Yeah, so whole Bhagavad Gita, you would see that Arjuna is asking various different questions to Lord Krishna. But here, just before this answer is given by Arjuna, in verse number 72, first time Krishna asks one question to Arjuna. And this is after the entire Bhagavad Gita has been spoken. And basically he's asking here in 18.72, Arjuna, I have been speaking for so long. Have you understood the Bhagavad Gita? Are there any more questions that you have? I'm here. I'm ready to repeat everything if you haven't understood. And this is the answer that Arjuna gives. Arjuna says, Nashto moha smrutir labdhva. He's saying that my illusion is now gone and I have regained my memory. Moha is gone. Nashta moha smrutir labdhva. Smruti means he has received back his memory, which he had lost. So his illusion is gone. He has regained his memory. And then he says, Gata sandeha. All my doubts are gone. So wonderfully he's explaining that all of this has happened. But at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, let's go to chapter number 1, verse number 30, and read the translation of 1.30. So where Arjuna started. Who wants to read 1.30? Yes, Maharaj, please go ahead.
I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Kesi demon.
So in this verse and the verses around it, Arjuna is explaining that how he has become confused. And in the Sanskrit word, in the Sanskrit verse, you will see this word Bhramati. So I have become confused. I have become illusioned, he is saying. So Bhagavad Gita at the beginning is showing that Arjuna, how he was confused. He was Bhramati. And then he comes to the stage at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Nashta moha smrutir labdhva. So Bhagavad Gita takes us from the confused stage to a fixed up stage where our doubts are clarified, our illusion is completely gone. So Bhagavad Gita takes us from darkness of ignorance to the light of spiritual knowledge. And this knowledge is about Lord Shri Krishna, about us, and what is our connection between them, and how we can revive this connection between us. So this is why, these are the many various different reasons why we should be reading or studying Bhagavad Gita. So once we have understood that why we should read and study Bhagavad Gita, a question will come that, oh, there are so many Bhagavad Gitas which are there. So why we are insisting on reading this Bhagavad Gita as it is only? So the reason is very simple, because Lord Shri Krishna is recommending that in Bhagavad Gita itself. Lord Shri Krishna in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he is explaining that how the spiritual knowledge should be received. Lord Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajar shrayo vidu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So he said that this supreme science has to be received in the chain of disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam, parampara. So parampara means it is the chain of disciplic succession. So it is Krishna's recommendation that we receive this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita not directly from Bhagavad Gita on ourselves, but we should try to receive it in the chain of disciplic succession. So why it is important? So say suppose now it is a mango season, right? So let us see that there is, let us imagine that there is a mango tree. And there are two children who want to actually get some mangoes from that tree. So one child takes a stone and tries to hit the mango from this with the stone, and thus he is trying to get the mangoes. So even if he's able to hit the mango with the stone, the mango will be hit by the stone, and then it will fall down as well. So it will be damaged. So that is not like, even if he gets some mango, it will not be very interesting. But the other boy is a little bit more intelligent. What he does, he gathers few friends, and all of them actually climb the tree, and they are actually at the different levels. They are sitting at the tree, and then one person is taking the mango from the top and then handing it over to the person below, and this person takes the mango, then hands over to the person below, and like that the mango is transferred. So when it comes in the hands on the person who's standing at the bottom of the tree, he will get the mango properly. And this is the wonderful effect of parampara. When we are receiving the knowledge in parampara, then automatically we receive the fruit, like in this case, mango that we are talking about. But in this case of Bhagavad Gita, it is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is intact. It is not the mango like you are throwing a stone and then you are getting a broken mango. So you are getting the intact mango. You are getting the intact knowledge if you receive it in parampara. Jitamanyu Prabhu, you have raised your hand. Do you have some question? Before I go ahead, I'll take that question. You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Now, yeah, in Gita Mahatmam somewhere, as I can remember, it is also written that Gita Adhyayan Shilasya Pranayam Parasyaja Noiva Shantehi Papani Purva Janma Kritanicha. So also Gita Adhyayan, if we read the Bhagavad Gita, it also reduce our sin in the past life and make our suffering little bit lighter.
Yeah, as we were discussing Gita Manu Prabhu, Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. We don't even have to actually go back to Gita Mahatmya for that. Krishna has said just the verses that we read now. Even just by reading Bhagavad Gita or listening Bhagavad Gita, all our sinful reactions are washed away. Why we are suffering is because we have these sinful reactions accumulated. We have done some sinful activities either in this life or the previous life. And then when we are getting those reactions, then we start suffering. So if the sinful reactions are washed away and cleared, then our suffering reduces. And of course, without when we actually discuss the karma topic going forward a little bit, at that time we will understand more that how without having our karma balance as zero, we won't be able to go back to the spiritual world. Is that okay, Jitamanyu Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Fine. Okay, so let's move ahead. So Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna has recommended that we should receive this knowledge in the chain of disciplic succession. It should be an unbroken parampara that we should receive it in. Now someone will say that why we have to actually receive this in unbroken parampara. It is it not enough that I know English? It is not enough, and we'll see why. So this Bhagavad Gita, but before that, this Bhagavad Gita as it is, you can see on page 31, like this book that I have, it is on page 31, which is immediately after the introduction is finished. It is mentioned how the disciplic succession of for Srila Prabhupada. And you can see it is an unbroken chain of disciplic succession. So originally the knowledge, as we said, the knowledge is coming from Krishna himself. And Krishna gave this knowledge to Brahma, Brahma gave to Narada, Narada gave to Vyasa, Vyasa gave to Madhvacharya. And then this parampara continues until it comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's parampara continued. And then, as you can see on the picture as well here, and also on this page, it comes to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Then he gave the knowledge to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who gave it to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He gave it to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave to Srila Prabhupada. And that is how this is an unbroken chain of disciplic succession through which we are getting this knowledge. So the important thing is when we are actually receiving the knowledge from a disciplic succession, then we have the same effect on us as it had on Arjuna when Krishna was giving this knowledge to him. So Arjuna was confused in the beginning, and then his doubts were all clarified. So similarly, when we actually receive this knowledge from a bona fide source like Srila Prabhupada, then we also, our doubts are clarified, and then our confusion is removed, and we become crystal clear in our understanding. So this book, Bhagavad Gita as it is giving this knowledge as it is. Sanskrit, as I was mentioning, that someone will say that I know English and I can just read this Bhagavad Gita, or even better than that. Someone will say that I know Sanskrit and I can just read the Sanskrit verses, the 700 Sanskrit verses, and I can understand Bhagavad Gita on my own. Now it is very difficult to do that. Why? For a simple reason. I'll give you an example. So Sanskrit is a very complex language. Each word in Sanskrit can have multiple meanings. And each verse has so many Sanskrit words. So that entire verse with each word having different meanings, you can create so many meanings out of that one verse. But which is the real meaning that Krishna wanted to give to Arjuna? How would we know that? If you are just reading the Sanskrit verses, you can just derive your own meaning and you think that, oh, you have understood Bhagavad Gita. But would you actually get the meaning which Krishna wanted to give to Arjuna? You may actually get something else. It is like someone saying that, oh, because I know English, then if this person is given a book which has complex accounting related topics which are getting discussed. So even if you know English and you're reading this book on complex accounting, you wouldn't understand anything because it is a conversation between two accountants which is going on. And even though the language used is English and you know English, you still will not be able to grasp the concepts of accounting unless you learn it from a proper teacher who explains to you about accounting first, and then you will start making sense what is there. Similarly, even though someone understands Sanskrit language, even then we will not be able to understand the Bhagavad Gita just by reading the verses. And that is why we require someone who's coming in parampara, who's coming in the disciplic succession, who has understood from their guru, and that guru has understood from their guru, and that guru has understood from his guru or her guru, and like that we have received it directly from Krishna. If it is unbroken chain like that, only then we will be able to understand this Bhagavad Gita as it is. So how do we know that, how can we know that this book will give you then, even though it is coming in parampara, how can we know that we will get the same understanding of Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna has got? So we can see that in the 10th chapter, Arjuna has given his understanding. He says in the 12th and 13th verse, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vipo, Ahustvam Rishio Sarve, Deva Rishi Naradas Tatha, Asito Devalo Vyasa, Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. So he's saying about Lord Krishna. Arjuna is saying, you're Param Brahma. Param Brahma means he is the supreme. You are the supreme personality of Godhead. Param Dhama means he's the ultimate abode. Pavitram, he's purest. And Paramam Bhavam, he is the absolute truth. So he's explaining that Krishna, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. You are the absolute truth. You are an ultimate abode. You are the purest. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person. You are the unborn. You are the greatest. And not only I am saying this, like Arjuna is saying this, he says, Ahustom Rishio Sarve Devarshi Naradas Tatha Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. So not only I am saying, but he's saying that great rishis like Devarshi, Narad, Asita, Devala, and even Vyasadev has also confirmed this truth about you. And now you yourself have also told me the same thing. So Krishna has mentioned that who is he, what is his identity, and not only he has mentioned, Arjuna has also confirmed that understanding. And it is not only these two are saying about it, but all these great rishis, they have also confirmed this truth about Krishna. So as long as after reading this Bhagavad Gita, you come to the same conclusion that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, then we have achieved the same result as Arjuna received. Now, after reading many Bhagavad Gitas, some people get this confused understanding that they are like each jiva, like you and me, are also Krishna, like they are also God. And sometimes they say that I'm God, you are God, everyone is God. We are just currently covered in Maya, but once we get purified, we will become God. So I can guarantee you that this was not the understanding that Arjuna has received. And this is not the understanding that you are going to get by reading this Bhagavad Gita that we are going to read from now onwards. You can be rest assured that you are going to get the same level of understanding and the same level of result that Arjuna received when he heard the Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, and you will get the same result when you read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this is where we are at for today. It is rare that I finish my session before time. So you have 9 more minutes to tell me what you have understood today from today's session. And also if there are any questions, I will take them. Who wants to summarize for me whatever points that you have heard today and whatever points that you have understood or any questions that you may have? I'm happy to take them now. Anyone?
There is a hand raised. Karan Kumar Prabhuji has raised his hand.
Oh, yes. Karan Kumar Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. This is my first exposure to Bhagavad Gita. I'm not sure if I may ask some silly questions there.
Please go ahead. There is no question which is silly. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you were talking about 5 things which has a focus in the Bhagavad Gita, which is Kal, Karma, Ishwar, Prakriti, and which is the
Jiva.
5th one?
Jiva. Jiva means us, the spirit soul. So
Okay,
Ishvara means the Supreme Lord. Ishvara means the Supreme Lord. Jiva means all of us. So the soul and the Supreme Lord. And then we have Prakriti, material nature. Like we are in this material world, we have this body, which is also made of Prakriti. So that is material nature. Kala means the time which is going on. And Karma means all the activities that we are doing and the result that we are getting out of those activities. So these are the 5 topics which are covered in Bhagavad Gita, which are main important topics. Of course, there are many other things which are talked, but these are the 5 most important topics which are covered.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't have a copy of Bhagavad Gita. I would like to have one.
Are you in New Zealand here in Karan Kumar Prabhu?
Yes, I stay in Lower Hutt.
Oh, good. So
Prabhuji is friend of Sanyukta. Sanyukta and Prabhuji works together.
Okay. So Jeetam and Sanyukta. So okay. So you can get a copy from them next week.
Sure,
Yeah,
Karan.
good.
I'll let Sanjukta know about this. Thanks.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Sannivas Prabhu, you have a question?
No, Prabhuji, I want to tell my realization.
Oh, summarize. Yes. You want to summarize?
No. Realization. One point I realized today.
Sure. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It's a nice presentation, Prabhuji. And I like this point, how you example given an English and accountant. So this was really, I was always tending to know how that even though you know Sanskrit, how can't you explain Bhagavad Gita? You can understand Bhagavad Gita by yourself. But this example was so clear, even the accountant, it is in English, but he can't understand the principles of it. He has to be an accountant. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you for your realization.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to share some comments or realization or have questions, or even wants to summarize what we have learned, or at least 1 or 2 points? Remember, this is not going to be a one-way flow from next session onwards. So please open up. We want to have that interactive. I don't want all of you to fall asleep while I'm speaking. So I'm going to keep asking some questions in between.
Vidushi has raised her hand.
Yes, Vidushi Mata, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I really liked the verses in chapter 18, Prabhuji. So the importance of reading Bhagavad Gita. So in fact, by reading Bhagavad Gita itself, you're worshipping Krishna with your intelligence. And by listening to Bhagavad Gita, you get purified and you attain the auspicious planets. But also, person who shares this becomes very, very dear to Krishna himself.
Yeah, wonderful.
I really like that fruit of reading Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. So that is why I'm explaining the benefits first. If I explain the benefits first, then the the interest for reading will be aroused more and will be more serious in reading and studying. So good. Okay, Bichitra Prabhu, what is your question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, very well explanation for all the things as the context set up. But what I liked first is how to use the Bhagavad Gita as it is book, like having it is one aspect, and then again hierarchy. Because as an engineer, I can relate the importance, priority one, which is more priority, most priority. So having as it is important, but again, keeping it in altar and do the puja is more important. Reading, understanding, implementing, then passing that knowledge to others is most important. So that is something very nicely related. And also how you gave simple examples of the two kids who want to have mangoes. So what is the importance of discipline succession to ensure that the knowledge is not diluted or lost its actual intention, and how the example of tomato for the knowledge and wisdom. So all these examples are quite real life we can relate to. So thank you very much. It's something that as a parent also we can make it understandable, easy to the kids. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, that's good, Vichitra Prabhu. Happy that you have understood and liked those points. Rajiv Prabhu, please go ahead. Rajiv Prasad.
Unmute myself.
Yeah.
Jai Shri Krishna, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me now.
Yeah, we can.
Well, first of all, thank you to Vikas Bhai for inviting me to this session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My question's more around, I want to get my kids involved. So, I'll take the benefit of this. I'll understand this. This is an adult program happening around 7:30 to 8:30. I want to get my kids involved. If there are children's classes running or junior youth classes running, my son's just getting into the teenage, so if there is something जो उनको आकर्षित कर सकता है, तो so that kids can get involved earlier on and understand this, because it'll harness them, give them the right tools to live life.
Yeah, absolutely, Raju Prabhuji. I think this knowledge is not only for adults. This is a misconception that we have, that actually many times, especially in India, many people, when they are told that, oh, I am attending some Bhagavad Gita class or whatever, the first thing that they say, Are, ye bhi kya tumhari umr hai? Like, is this your age to actually read Bhagavad Gita? That Bhagavad Gita should be read when you are old, like very old, at that time you should be reading. This is a misconception that we have. Bhagavad Gita is actually for everyone. It is the instruction manual of our life. What is the point in, like, this is, as I was explaining, that this body is a machine, and we are using this machine in this material world, and it is explaining how to utilize this instruction manual, is explaining how to utilize this machine in this material world properly. So if after 60, 70 years of using this machine, probably this, without the instruction manual, this machine is already damaged. At that point, what is the point in reading Bhagavad Gita? Of course, that is useful at that point as well. Anytime we can start and utilize. But if at the beginning of our life itself, if we start reading the Bhagavad Gita and understand it, and then we implement that in our life, then nothing like it. If you're in New Zealand, especially in Wellington, if you're here, then we also do in-person classes on Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays happen at various places. So you can drop me a message on WhatsApp, and I can connect you to one of the classes. So when we are running these classes on Fridays and Saturdays, so there are adult classes as well as children's classes which are happening in parallel. And that is how the value education as well as the spiritual knowledge is passed on to children as well as adults at the same time. So yes, absolutely, you're absolutely right that not only the adults should get this knowledge, but also the children should get this knowledge for sure.
Thank you very much.
Ramakrishna Prabhu, do you have some question?
No question, Prabhuji. Just a realization. Like
yes, please go ahead.
Every time when you tell more, it's like for the ears it is more sweetener. Like you use initially like Vijitra Prabhu saying, like tomato example, it's a fruit, but we can't use in a fruit salad. So yeah, so the wisdom and knowledge, the difference between, you explained well. And the cricket example, how you explain, it's I'm always keen to listen to you. And yeah, so its implementation is most important. That's what I realized.
Thank you very much, Ramakrishna Prabhuji. If you like some of the examples, but mainly the knowledge, as you know, knowledge is coming from Krishna himself. And because this knowledge has been explained by Srila Prabhupada in his books, they have become even more sweeter. So they are already sweet because the words are coming from Krishna, and they are becoming even more sweeter because it has been coming from Srila Prabhupada's mouth. And I'm just an instrument passing on this knowledge to all of you. And if any benefit you are getting, it is because the knowledge is coming from the pure source. So, but thank you very much for your comment. Nanda Prabhu,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
have some question or comment? You can please unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just attending any Bhagavad Gita class for the first time. So I really liked your examples, as everybody has said, all the examples, in fact, and I'm considering myself as that second class student right now. And those examples are really beneficial to understand, I think, all the chapters or all the verses going forward. I just have one doubt or one question, sure, which is like, as you have been taking verses from different chapters, I think. So if I have to start reading Bhagavad Gita, so is it like I have to go through in the same sequence, like chapter 1 and so on? Or is it something specific like we should focus on, or how should we do that? That's my question.
Yeah, very good question. And this is what we are going to do from next session onwards. Next session onwards, I'm not going to go random like this. This was just an overview session, just to actually give a glimpse of Bhagavad Gita and some benefits and what is the importance. But from next session onwards, we are going to start on chapter 1, verse 1. And then we are going to go like this in sequence. And we will not stop till we finish all 18 chapters, all 700 verses. So my plan is to actually cover at least 7 to 15 possibly verses in each session, like 1 hour. And that way we'll be able to complete this Bhagavad Gita maybe in 1 year.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you. Kirtivanta Prabhu, you have any question or comment?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu, just the comment is that everything is extraordinary. The speaker is extraordinary, the listener, the conversation, the location, and also the benefits that we get from the Bhagavad Gita are all extraordinary.
Yeah, and that is why we should be reading the Bhagavad Gita and studying it. Very good. Ram Mohan Prabhu, are there any other points that you want to
quickly,
share?
my realization I haven't heard before, which is our karma balance have to be 0 before we have to go to spiritual world. So that was very clear to me today. Thank you.
Yeah. And we will cover that more in future when we come to that topic. Okay. Mahendra Prabhu, you have some question or comment? Let me introduce Mahendra Prabhu first. At these sessions we are starting only because of him. Once just I met him and in supermarket, and I was talking to him, and somehow or the other this conversation started. And I said to him that, okay, I will actually just read Bhagavad Gita with you, along with you. So, and this is where actually it was just going to be a one-on-one session starting from last week. But somehow or the other, then he said that, no, I will invite some of my friends as well. So I said, okay, if you're inviting some friends, then let me open it to everyone. So all of you are getting benefited just because I met Mahendra Prabhu in supermarket, New World, and we had some 15 minutes chat there. And this is the result, that he was quite keen to read and understand Bhagavad Gita. And you all are actually here today to read and listen. So thank you.
We are very fortunate, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We are very fortunate to, I guess you are the best speaker I have come across. And the way you, as Kirtiyata Prabhu said, and a lot of the summary is covered overall, but the way you explain it with practical examples it's amazing, right? we can read the Bhagavad Gita at so many different places. We can understand it in our own way. But if we need a guru, a Maharaj who can explain us in a simple way with nice practical examples, that's amazing. Like, it can help you to understand it pretty quickly. And that was the purpose. So I'm really thankful to you for that. My whole family, everyone is listening. Yeah, maybe like their second, third time, but for me it is first time. And thanks for this opportunity. Yeah, and another key thing is for me is the way you mentioned that all the Vedas knowledge getting into 108 Upanishads and Upanishads knowledge getting into Gita. So I'm really looking forward to understand those things into a simplest way, the way you in your own nice style. So looking forward to it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
As I
Prabhu.
said, I'm only an instrument. This knowledge is already simplified and mentioned by Srila Prabhupada, so I'm just passing on the knowledge as it is.
I truly appreciate that.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Rajiv Prabhu, you have some extra additional question or comment?
I just thought of when you mentioned it'll take us around a year and we'll complete this. What's next? Do we continue? do we deepen on a particular subject? Do we still meet as a team, as a group?
Let us first complete understanding the Bhagavad Gita. There are many other topics that we can cover if required. So if there is more interest, we can continue for our lifetime on these various topics that we have. After Bhagavad Gita, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like 12 cantos and 18 big books like Bhagavad Gita, which are there in that. So it can go on for ages. So don't worry. As long as there is interest, we can continue this.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Vibhor Prabhu, you have some question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Just a quick summary on what we have discussed so far. I think
very good. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think many devotees have mentioned those summary points, but please, you can summarize everything and we can finish after that.
Yeah, it would be a repetition of what people have said anyways. So we have 4 Vedas, which are being split into 108 Upanishads. And from those Upanishads came out Bhagavad Gita Upanishad. This is a summary of all good parts of all 108 Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is being recited by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna in under extraordinary circumstances between 2 extraordinary individuals, and the knowledge which comes out is also extraordinary. If 2 people can speak that in the middle or just the starting of a battle, none of us have any excuse of not reading Bhagavad Gita. It's good to keep Bhagavad Gita at home. It's even better to worship it. It's even better to read it, and it's even better to put it into practice in your own life. In chapter 1, it starts where Arjuna is confused about whether he can go through with this battle. But towards the end, in Adhyaya 18, he is satisfied that he has received the necessary knowledge to act, and he is now determined. The verses 68 and 69 say, the one who explains this supreme secret to devotees, pure devotional service is granted, and at the end he will come back to me. Also, Bhagavad Gita has to be as it is concept is because it has to be given in a chain. It started from Lord Krishna, Lord Brahma, to Narada, to Vyas, ultimately ending up with Srila Prabhupada, and finally we are getting it through this forum. That's pretty much it. It's of 18 chapters and 700 verses. So yeah.
Yeah, very comprehensive summary, Vibhor Prabhu. Very, very nice. Very good. Yeah, even though I said that we'll finish there, I got a message on the chat. So Margi, you want to share something?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, you are.
Krishna Prabhuji. I want to thank Vidhi. She is my younger sister. She always, while chatting, she always share her learning about Gita. And since last 2 years, I wanted to learn and go through the Gita course and all. I tried many times, but somehow I could not manage. So today is the right time arrived that I finally joined the course. And the example which you gave about Krishna and Arjuna in the war in the battlefield, that we can find time if we really want to do this. That example is very much relatable to me. So thank you very much, and looking forward.
I'm very happy, Margi, that you are able to get this knowledge.
केलंच
And,
नाही आपण तुझ्याकडनं चांगला गुण घेतला, केलंच नाही आपण ते.
I'm very happy that you are able to get this knowledge, and thank you, Vidhi Mataji, for inviting your sister for receiving this knowledge.
Hare
And
Krishna.
if there is nothing more, nothing else, then we can finish today. Was there any other hands which I didn't take up?
No, all well done.
All got a chance to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much then. Let's meet again next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. We start the Zoom session from 7:20, and you can start joining from there, and 7:30 sharp we will start. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.